Hello and welcome to this session today where we're going to be focusing initially on strings, okay? So a string is a list of characters or symbols which often represents natural human language, okay? So this is opposed to, binary computer language or other types of language which maybe we can't, read or understand as humans ourselves. The point is that strings are able to represent a wide range of different things. Okay, so words, they're able to represent sentences, things with actual meaning, as opposed to some of the other things that we might be using as data points within our own code. Okay. We are able to allocate strings towards a variable, as I have done here, and the key point is that we're able to identify that this is a string by the use of these quotation marks. Okay, so here this is a single quotation, doesn't matter if it's a double quotation, it will all do the same thing, but we're able to allocate it to this particular variable. Okay, so here we have a variable called myString, and we've allocated to it a string called thisIsMyString. All right. And we're actually able to do certain operations with strings. So I know that we covered this before with numerical information, so 1 + 1 = 2. Here we can actually concatenate together strings, okay? So you can't numerically add strings together because they're not values, but when you add them together, as I've demonstrated here, you can actually concatenate them together to make one long string, okay? So we have this value. This is GGS4 and 6 allocated to A. You can have this value, which is on Monday at 3 p.m. allocated to B. And then essentially you can add A plus, and I'm going to put a space here, plus B in order to get this C variable. And when we do that, we end up with a single string. Okay, so we've added together the first part. This is GGS4 and 6. The second part, which is a space, and then basically this latter part, which is on Monday at 3 p.m. So, just because it may look like a number if it is in quotation marks, as we have here, it's not actually a number, it's a string, okay? So that's going to catch you up whenever you're working with information that looks like one data type but isn't, okay? So D here is a string, it's 345. So whereas E here is numerical 345, so that would behave like a number. Okay, so we have one behaving like a string, one behaving like a number. So that means that if we add this string together, 345 plus 345, we're not going to get 690 as we would expect if it was numerical information. What we're going to end up getting is those two strings concatenated together like we did in the previous example where we concatenated two sentences with a space together to get one single longer sentence, okay? So you just need to remember if it's got quotation marks, as you have here, it's going to behave like a string. We also have the ability to actually allocate information that we have in a variable to a string, okay? And you might want to do this when you're working within loops. You might say that you want to print a piece of information that's in your for loop, and therefore you might want to use this particular function .format. So essentially, if we have a string here called myVersion : and we input curly brackets, so you can see it's in green, this is a reserved data type. So essentially, these are reserved characters. What this means is once you put the curly braces in, it's going to put whatever is in brackets here into that curly braces location just there. So if we have my number equals 2, then it's going to be myVersion : space 2. Okay, so let's just press Control Enter there, and that's exactly what we end up with. Okay, so you might see this many times over when you're working with loops in order to look at what type of underlying data is present in that particular loop at any one time. So you've got an exercise to work through here, and hopefully you'll be able to understand a bit more about strings and how we can use them and kind of cement that into your particular, cement that into your brain, okay? So I'll see you in the next video where we're going to be covering lists. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.